Nia was a simple girl from a quiet village in Goma, Congo. She didn't ask for much. Just a good life, a kind husband, and maybe one day a family of her own. She loved helping her mother in the kitchen, listening to old love songs on the radio, and watching the sun set over the green hills. Her heart was full of dreams, small but precious. She believed in love, the kind she had seen in her parents' old wedding photo, where her father smiled like he had everything he ever needed. Then came Malik. He arrived from Kintil, dressed sharp, spoke smooth, and carried himself like a man who had seen the world. He said he worked with a company that had connections abroad, that he was just looking for a wife, a good, quiet, respectful woman to build a future with. When he looked at Nia, he said she was the one. "You have the eyes of a queen," he told her, and her heart fluttered. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Her mother was unsure. "He's too fast," she whispered. Her brothers were cautious, but Malik was charming. He brought gifts, promised respect, promised marriage, promised the world, and Nia, young, hopeful, and full of love, believed him. After a few weeks, the family agreed. Malik would marry Nia and take her with him to South Africa. Nia packed her little bag and hugged her mama tight, whispering, "I'm going to be happy, Mama. I just know it." Her eyes sparkled with hope. She thought she had found her forever. The wedding was simple but beautiful. Nia wore a borrowed white dress and had flowers in her hair. Malik held her hand tightly, smiling in front of everyone. He promised to take care of her, love her, and build a new life with her. "We'll be in South Africa soon," he whispered to her after the ceremony. "A better life is waiting for us." Nia believed every word. She thought her dream was finally coming true. Right after the wedding, Malik started the visa paperwork. He needed money for the travel, the documents, and a place to stay once they arrived. Nia didn't think twice. She sold her late father's land, the only thing her family still had in his name. It broke her heart, but she told herself, "This is for our future, for our family." Her mother cried when the papers were signed, but Nia hugged her and said, "Don't worry, Mama, I'll make you proud." When the visa came through, they packed quickly and flew to South Africa. Nia was nervous but excited. She looked out the plane window and whispered a quiet prayer, but something changed the moment they landed. Malik's warm smile disappeared. He didn't hold her hand anymore. He barely looked at her. At the airport, he walked ahead like she was just a stranger following him. In their new apartment, Malik became cold and distant. He didn't talk much. He stayed out late. He avoided her eyes. When Nia asked if something was wrong, he only shrugged or snapped, "I'm tired. Leave me alone." Nia didn't understand. Just a few weeks ago, he had called her my queen. Now, he barely said her name. But still, she tried to stay hopeful. She cooked his favorite food, waited by the window every evening, and prayed things would go back to how they were. "This is just stress," she told herself. "New country, new life. Maybe he's just adjusting." She smiled less, but still smiled, because she loved him, and she believed love could fix anything. But deep inside, a small voice whispered, "Something isn't right." The days began to feel longer. At first, Nia thought Malik just needed time. She believed if she loved him more, maybe he would come back to her, to the man she married, the one who once called her his queen. But slowly, things got worse. Malik took her phone one morning and never gave it back. "You don't need it," he said. "You're not talking to anyone." When she asked if she could call her mother, he snapped, "What for? You're married now. Focus on your home." Nia wanted to argue, but she stayed quiet. She didn't want to make him angry. Soon she wasn't allowed to leave the house unless he was with her, and that became rare. She stopped meeting anyone. No neighbors, no church, no friends. The apartment became her whole world. 4 walls, silence, and waiting. She spent her days cooking his meals, cleaning every corner and praying on her knees. Every prayer ended with the same words, "Please, bring him back to me." But Malik only grew colder. Some nights, he didn't come home at all. Other times, he walked in past midnight, smelling of alcohol and smoke. He didn't say hi, didn't ask how she was. He just threw his keys on the table and went to sleep in another room. Nia would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering what she had done wrong. One evening, she tried to reach out. She made him dinner, his favorite, and waited by the door. When he walked in, she smiled and said softly, "I missed you." He looked at the food, rolled his eyes, and walked past her. Still, she followed him and whispered, "I love you." That's when it happened. He turned around and slapped her hard across the face. The sound echoed in the room. Her cheek burned. Her heart shattered. She stood there frozen, hand on her face, eyes wide with shock. Malik didn't even apologize. He just said, "Stop suffocating me," and walked away like nothing happened. Nia stayed there for a long time, silent, shaking. She wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. She went to bed alone that night, the pillow soaked with quiet pain. She still loved him, but something inside her had started to crack. Nia circled the date on the calendar weeks before, Malik's birthday. Even though he barely spoke to her anymore, she still remembered the little things. She saved a few coins from the grocery money and walked to a small street shop when Malik was out. There, she bought him a simple leather wallet, not expensive, but good quality. She chose it carefully, thinking, maybe he'll see I still care. Maybe this will make him smile again. She wrapped it in old newspaper and tied it with a red ribbon she found in a drawer. That whole day, her heart beat fast. She cleaned the apartment twice, cooked his favorite rice and stew, and set the table nicely. She even wore the blue dress he once said looked pretty on her. When Malik walked in, she stood up quickly, holding the gift with both hands. "Happy birthday," she said softly, offering the little package with a hopeful smile. He didn't smile back. He looked at the gift, then at her, and let out a cold laugh. "What is this?" he asked, snatching it from her hand. He unwrapped it roughly, saw the wallet, and without a word, walked straight to the trash can and dropped it in. "Is this a joke?" he shouted. "You think I want this? Do you think this changes anything? Stop suffocating me." Nia stood there frozen, her hands shaking. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Her heart felt like it was breaking into 1,000 pieces right there on the kitchen floor. I thought, she whispered. "Don't think. Just stay out of my way," he snapped, before walking into the other room and slamming the door. She didn't eat that night. She just sat at the table, staring at the gift in the trash. The ribbon had fallen on the floor. She picked it up slowly, wrapped it around her finger, and let the tears finally fall. Quiet, soft, as if she didn't want the walls to hear. Maybe tomorrow will be better, she told herself. But deep inside, even she didn't believe it anymore. Her love used to be her light. Now, it felt like a heavy chain she couldn't break free from. The first time Malik hit her, it was over food. Nia had made his dinner, just like always. Rice, stew, and a little extra salt, the way he used to like it. But that night, he tasted one bite and spat it out. "Are you trying to poison me?" he shouted. Before she could explain, his hand flew across her face. The slap was hard, sudden, and loud. The plate crashed to the floor. Nia just stood there, too shocked to cry, too scared to move. After that night, the violence didn't stop. It became part of her days, like cooking or cleaning. Some days it was because the phone rang too long. Other times it was because she looked too quiet or too sad. He would push her, slap her, throw things. Each time he'd say the same words. "You're lucky I let you live here." She stopped talking back. She stopped asking questions. She moved quietly, like a shadow. Her body began to carry bruises on her arms, her back, her ribs. Some faded, others stayed longer, but the bruises on her spirit, they didn't go away. At night, when Malik was out or sleeping in the other room, Nia would write letters to her mother. She'd pour her heart out on the page. "Mama, I don't know who I am anymore. I miss your voice. I'm scared all the time." She'd fold the letters neatly and hide them under her pillow, but she never mailed them. How could she? She didn't want her mother to worry. She didn't want to bring shame to the family. And deep down, she still hoped something would change. But day by day, Nia started to disappear. The bright, laughing village girl faded. She barely looked in the mirror anymore. When she did, she didn't recognize the woman staring back. She used to sing while she cooked. Now, the house was always silent. She used to dream. Now, she barely slept. Even her prayers were quiet now, like whispers sent into a sky that never answered. She was still breathing, still alive, but she was no longer living. It was a quiet evening, just like any other. Nia had gone outside for a few minutes to throw out the trash. On her way back, the neighbor from the next building, an older man with kind eyes, simply nodded and said, "Good evening." She smiled politely, said hello back, and walked inside. Malik saw it. Later that night, he burst into the kitchen, his eyes full of rage. "You think I didn't see you, smiling at that man like a street girl?" he shouted. Nia was confused. "What man?" she asked, her voice small. "The neighbor. Don't play dumb with me," he yelled, grabbing her by the arm. "You're cheating. You think I don't know what women like you do." "No, I swear." She tried to explain, but he didn't listen. He dragged her down the hallway and pushed her into the small storage room. Then he locked the door. "You want attention? Stay in there. Let him come save you," he snapped before walking away. Nia sat in the darkness, shaking. No windows, no water, no food, just 4 cold walls and silence. The hours passed slowly. Her stomach growled. Her throat was dry. She tried not to cry, but the tears came anyway. The next day came and went. No one opened the door. By the second night, she stopped counting time. She was too weak. Her lips were cracked, her head pounding. She curled up on the floor and whispered to herself, "This is not love." On the third morning, the door finally opened. Malik stood there, looking down at her like she was nothing. He didn't say a word, just turned and walked away. Nia crawled out slowly, her legs shaky, her heart heavier than ever. She went to the bathroom and looked into the mirror. What she saw broke her. The girl with the soft eyes, the girl who once believed in forever. She was gone. In her place was a pale, tired stranger with hollow cheeks and broken dreams. She touched her face and whispered again, "This is not love." And for the first time, she didn't try to make excuses. She didn't hope for change. Something inside her had snapped, and something new was starting to wake up. Nia's days were filled with silence and pain, but one small light appeared in the form of Zethu, the kind maid who worked in the building. Zethu noticed the bruises on Nia's arms and the sadness in her eyes, the way she moved like a shadow, always scared and quiet. One afternoon, when Malik was out, Zethu gently asked, "Nia, are you okay? You don't have to be alone." At first, Nia shook her head and tried to smile, but the tears in her eyes gave her away. Zethu didn't push. Instead, she quietly promised to help. Over the next few weeks, she left small notes under Nia's door, numbers to call, places to go if she needed safety. One night, Zethu slipped a piece of paper under the door with the address of a women's shelter and a phone number. "You are not alone," it said. Nia held the note close to her heart, feeling hope stir inside her for the first time in years. She started planning quietly, watching Malik's schedule, waiting for the right moment. Finally, one night, when Malik was out drinking with friends, Nia packed a small bag with only the essentials, her ID, some money she had hidden, and the note from Zethu. Her hands trembled, but her heart was steady. She didn't look back as she slipped out the front door into the dark streets. The cool night air brushed against her face. For the first time in so long, she took a deep breath, deep and full of freedom. The stars above seemed to shine just for her. She walked quickly but carefully, her steps light but determined. When she reached the shelter, a warm woman opened the door with a kind smile. "You're safe now," she said softly. Nia felt tears fall, not tears of pain, but tears of relief. She finally knew she was not alone. That night, lying on a soft bed, Nia whispered a prayer of thanks. The road ahead was still long and uncertain, but for the first time, she felt something she hadn't in a long time. Hope. Hope that she could heal. Hope that she could be free. Hope that one day she could smile again. At the shelter, Nia slowly began to heal. The kind women there helped her find a therapist who listened without judgment. For the first time in years, Nia spoke about her pain, her fears, and the man who had stolen her happiness. It was hard. Some days she wanted to run away from the memories, but little by little, she felt lighter. She also started learning English. At first, the words were strange and difficult, but with patience, Nia grew confident. She practiced every day, reading books, watching movies, and even talking to other women at the shelter. Learning the language opened new doors for her, and with each new word, her world grew bigger. Soon, Nia joined a training program to become a counselor. She wanted to help women like herself, women trapped in silence and fear. She learned how to listen, how to offer hope, and how to guide others towards safety. Every story she heard reminded her of her own struggle, but also of her strength to survive. One day, a local reporter came to the shelter to cover stories of immigrant women facing abuse. Nia agreed to share her story. Her voice was soft but steady as she spoke about the pain, the escape, and the new life she was building. The interview was powerful, honest, and raw. The story went viral. People from all over the country saw Nia's face and heard her words. Messages poured in, from women thanking her, from strangers inspired by her courage, from leaders offering support. Nia didn't expect this. She never dreamed she would become a voice for thousands of silenced women. But now, she was. She spoke at events, gave interviews, and met with groups working to end domestic violence. Every time she shared her story, she felt a little stronger, a little braver. Her pain had not disappeared, but it had transformed into power. Nia was no longer just a survivor. She was a fighter, a healer, a beacon of hope for so many who thought no one was listening. The village girl who once dreamed of love had risen like a phoenix, stronger, wiser, and ready to change the world. After Nia's story spread, immigration authorities took notice. They began looking into Malik's actions, the promises he made, the marriage papers, and the way he had brought Nia to South Africa. Soon, they discovered that Malik had used false documents and lied about his intentions. He was charged not only with fraud, but also for abusing Nia. Malik's world started to fall apart. The same man who once held power over Nia now faced serious consequences. The court case was set, and everyone expected Nia to appear and tell her truth. But Nia didn't go. She had bigger plans. Instead of sitting in a courtroom, she was traveling to a United Nations event on women's rights, speaking in front of important leaders and activists. She was there to share her voice, to fight for women like her, and to make sure no one else suffered in silence. Her absence at the hearing was a sign. She was no longer a victim, trapped by fear. She was a woman in control of her life. Meanwhile, Malik sat alone in a small room, waiting for the verdict. When the judgment came, it was clear. Malik would be deported. No more lies, no more control, no more chances. He left the country quietly, without anyone to meet him at the airport, without a job, without a home. The man who once promised Nia a bright future was now forgotten by the people he tried to trick. Malik's fall was complete, a harsh reminder that actions have consequences. For Nia, it was the start of something new. She didn't need revenge or hatred. She needed freedom and peace. She was building a future where love was real and justice was not just a word. And as Malik disappeared into the past, Nia stood tall, stronger, wiser, and unbreakable. Nia's journey from pain to power didn't stop with her own healing. She wanted to help other women who were trapped like she once was. So, she started an organization called Women Rise Kintal. It was a safe place where women could find support, learn new skills, and, most importantly, find a way out of abuse. At first, it was just a small group of women meeting in a community center, but word spread quickly. Soon, over 1,000 women had come through the doors, each with their own story of struggle and hope. Nia listened to them all, offering comfort and courage. She connected them with shelters, lawyers, and jobs. She showed them that they were not alone and that they could rise above their pain. One day, Nia was invited to speak at a big event about women's rights. Standing on the stage, holding the microphone, she looked out at the crowd, faces full of hope and tears. She smiled, a smile full of strength and truth, and said, "He tortured me for loving him, but that love made me unbreakable." Her words echoed through the room, powerful and real. She wasn't just telling her story. She was giving voice to thousands of women who had been silenced by fear. Nia had transformed her broken past into bold action. She had become a beacon of hope for women everywhere, a reminder that even after the darkest nights, the sun can rise again. From a scared village girl to a fearless leader, Nia proved that love, even when it hurts, can make you stronger than you ever imagined.